All right, y'all. So, yeah, I just wanted to jump back on here and kind of give my thoughts on Virna Jandiroba's performance over Yan Zhanan moving forward, as far as how she'll look against the strawweight champion Zhang Weili. Well, first off, going back, to the performance of Yan Zhanan this past Saturday. Number one, I have to say that yes, on paper, she's definitely earned the next title shot. She's pretty much on a 5 fight win streak right now, pretty much beat everybody and dominated everybody she's fought. So on paper, that definitely gives her the next title shot because again, there's nobody else for her to fight. There's nobody else for Zhang Weili to fight. And that puts her in the number one spot, right? I think she's earned it in that fashion. She's done all the work. She's grown as a fighter and she's done some good things, as far as the opponents that she's fought. But as far as like being a threat to Zhang Weili right now, it's really hard to say. It really is hard to say. I don't know if her performance this past Saturday against Yan Zhanan was more of a play it safe type of situation. That kind of crosses my mind where maybe, Virna Jandiroba was trying to maybe play it safe and not run into any big shots from Yan Zhanan and just kind of go through the motions. Maybe that was her thing. But at the same time, when you put on a performance like that and don't make a big statement, it can kind of rub the crowd the wrong way. And that really won't bring in a big crowd for you, right? It won't really bring your stock up. But like I said, some fighters do that. Sometimes they don't want to put their potential title shot in danger. So they might just take on a cautious type of style. But when it comes down to it, I've seen Vina just evolve over the years. And I thought that, her stand up game would have been enough to actually kind of frustrate Yan Zhan a little bit, because I thought she was lighter on her feet. In the past, she's outboxed some strikers, like in my opinion, I thought she outboxed Mackenzie Dern, but there were still some holes in her game there. But she did outbox Loopy and used her jujitsu as well. So I thought she would have taken more of that type of approach where she utilized a little bit of everything and looked really convincing, like she did against Marina and Lupe Godinez and Angela Hill. But in this fight, yeah, she kind of took her foot off the gas a little bit, just looked more for takedowns. And moving forward, if you're gonna be taking on somebody like Zhang Weili, there's got to be there's got to be more there. There's got to be more. Like you just can't go in there and go through the motions. So I thought that was kind of a downfall in that performance against Yan Zhana. That would have been the perfect time to kind of make a statement and just go in there, try some different things out, utilize your strength, see how powerful you are with your right hand, and see what kind of damage you can do on the feet as well, because there was just a lot of moments too where she was just letting slip, looking for a submission too much. And if that's all you're looking for against a champion like Zhang Weili, you'll come up short because Zhang Weili, throughout the past few years, I've almost counted her out in some fights, especially on the feet, but she's been covering every ground now. She's been kind of backtracking even on her boxing, correcting some things that she used to do wrong. Being a little bit smarter as far as setting up her right hand, not just bull rushing in there anymore, trying her best to, keep her range and, let loose with the combinations and not be stingy with the shots, So I think Zhang Weili is starting to understand now, I got to break these opponents down and not give them any respect, and she's kind of learned that from the Rose fights and some of her previous fights, even that first Joanna fight, where she kind of went back and forth with Joanna, but now she's been taking control more. Like that's the one thing about Zhang Weili that just separates her from other fighters, and even fighters like Valentina, where they want to own every bit of the round. They want to own every bit of the fight, and you just can't go in there with some type of play it safe mentality. You got to go in there and own these fighters because even outside of Yan Xiaonan's knockdowns, in the Zhang Weili fight. Whenever Zhang Weili fought Yan Xiaonan, she may have scored those knockdowns, like 3 or 4 knockdowns, but Zhang Weili had Yan Xiaonan in more trouble at times. She's had her in trouble more times. It was said that she choked Yan Xiaonan out in the first round. You know what I mean? So Yan Xiaonan had lost almost a number of times in that fight. I believe I got to go back and look at the fight, She almost got TKO'd. Yan Zhang almost got TKO'd at one point in that fight. Got choked out in the first round. And then, just got really mauled and beat up on the ground against Zhang Weili at times. Whereas Virna was just looking for the arm bar at times, rear naked here and there. But Yan Zhana was still alive in game. It was just on her fault where she didn't execute a good game plan to finally put the pressure on Virna and try to find the knockout. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to come in here and argue for the belt and say, I'm next, let me get that shot, you gotta break that door down. You got to break that door down and put that win streak together. Yeah, granted, again, she put the win streak together, but it almost kind of took the foot off. She almost kind of took the foot off the gas in that performance, right? So now it's making people feel like, oh, we don't want to see this fight. We just want to see Weili versus Valentina. They're not really hyped about this one. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm hyped about Zhang Weili getting her fourth title defense if she's able to in this one. Maybe, like I said, Virna's going to come in here and turn it up. Hopefully, maybe she's just saving some energy, and maybe she didn't want to get injured. I know she had a knee injury a couple of years ago, so maybe she was playing it safe. I don't know, but outside of that, I thought she just fought a cautious fight, overly cautious fight at times. Didn't utilize her striking to the best of her ability, like she should have, and that style won't work against Zhang Weili. I don't think what she did against Yan is going to work against Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili is too powerful, too strong, and with her physical strength and much improved wrestling, I think she'll neutralize Virna almost like Carla did years ago, but it's going to be much, much more one-sided on the ground. I think she'll stop a lot of those submissions. But even if she don't stop submissions, I think she's going to be cracking her with the right hand because, man, like you see Zhang Weili touching Yan Zhana with the right hand, Joanna with the right hand, Lemos with the right hand. She even touched Rose a few times with the right hand, So I think that with the way Zhang Weili's been measuring over the past few years, she'll still be too much for Virna right now. Like I said, Virna came in there, maybe did something crazy like outstrike Yan and then just kind of beat her down and then eventually maybe get a submission or just really maul her on the ground and beat her up on the ground. I would think differently, but she kind of took her foot off the gas in this fight, So moving forward, she's going to have to be much more aggressive. Look for those moments of recklessness against Zhang Weili if she can find them. But you gotta want to take it. You gotta be able to want to take it. You can't play it safe in this one. Not this one coming up. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comment section. That's why I just wanted to get back on and just talk about it a little bit because I want to talk about control in another video too. Like just kind of looking back at some of the other fighters, man. Like some of the other fighters where you look at grapplers that like to get the fight to the ground and just hold versus fighters that get you down and beat you up. That's something else I kind of want to look at moving forward, like on how fighters like Kayla and Weili, they do it, on how they do it and what it's able to do for them. All right. But yeah, that's all I got on this one, guys. Make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Peace.